Couple of goals at the other end. That's what happened against Wolves. And from Selhurst Park to the tussle at the top of the table in the title race between Manchester City and Arsenal. The huge game in the battle to see who will come out on top in the Premier League this season. And here is the Etihad pitch split in two squares. These are zones of control. So if we've got a dark blue zone, this is an area of pitch that the possession was pretty balanced. It was almost 50-50. A red zone represents where Arsenal would have had 55% or more. A sky blue zone where City would have dominated the ball. City attacking this way. This is Donnarumma in goal, attacking this way. And you can see this central area of the pitch completely dominated by the sky blue of Manchester City. Also this area here, Semenya in attack, and also on this left-hand side where Jeremy Doku was trying to isolate and go one-on-one against Mosquera with the support of O'Reilly behind him. So City dominating, Jamie, this central area. How key to all that were the two men in midfield for them, Rodri and Bernardo Silva?
Well, I think Rodri and Bernardo Silva gave one of the greatest performances as a pair I've probably seen in the Premier League, and there's been some great midfielders who we highlighted last week, and maybe I should do that list again on the back of what we saw at the weekend. But for me, the game was won in midfield. And I just want to look at both teams' setups without the ball, because there's a lot of talk today about how sort of adventurous or how on the front foot Arsenal were. Now, they were without the ball. Now, I just want to look at what happened initially. Now, we talk about a man-to-man press all over the pitch. I want to highlight Rodri and Silva. Got Declan Rice and Odegaard coming right up the backside so they can't get that ball into the players there. So, really aggressive. Man-for-man on this back line. We highlighted this with Arsenal a few weeks ago, actually. They didn't go long enough at times into their strikers, but City are not shy in doing that. And straight away, it's into Haaland, and before you know it, first minute or so in the game, you think we've got a game here. It's only just blocked before Doku can get away. So, again, we go back to this fixture a couple of weeks ago in the Carabao Cup final. We know Arsenal had a huge problem trying to play past this front four. So, from goal kicks, they had a different setup. Saliba was in the place where Mosquera was, and Mosquera was just higher up in a normal right-back position. So, they went slightly differently. But the plan was, when you actually see the setup, where Arsenal have got a front four, the midfield players are higher than what they were a few weeks ago, because the plan was to go long and bypass this front four. And we can see this with the stats now. We see here, so goal kicks from 1 minute to number 75, only one goal short. I think it's this one, and it's a little bit of a mix-up. I think the gatekeeper's going to go long, but he has a poor touch. And it wasn't until very late in the game that they started going short, and that was only because the game was so open. So the plan was to beat this front four, we're going to go long. But this is the first one, just to highlight what the plan was. We can see it's a slightly different setup with Saliba in this position, and he's very lucky he doesn't do a Donnarumma. So you talk about being brave without the ball. So I highlighted Rodri and Bernardo Silva. Look at the courage he is now on the ball there, taking it on the 6-yard box, not rolling it to the keeper to go long, running it out, bringing it out, because they can't then be pressed. The Arsenal players can't come in the 6-yard box. But what happens? They win the ball back, because Arsenal's press in those first 15 minutes was absolutely fantastic. They won the ball back, I think, 7 times. Yeah, here it is. They won the ball back the most they've done in the first 15 minutes this season, 6 times more than they've done,
well,
as I said.
That tells you about their aggression and their plan.
Exactly, and fair play to them. It was fantastic to see press. But the courage of Manchester City players, you lose the ball there in the first 5 or 6 minutes. Let's go to the next clip. That was Bernardo Silva. So again, they're not in these areas. Look at Declan Rice, he's not sure. I can't go any further. Look at Rodri there. Stops there.
But I think
so
also,
they're deeper.
Also, they're the best players are problem solvers.
Yeah.
You know, it's been humble enough to go, actually, they've got us here early on. Physically, we're maybe not up to them, but mentally they've gone, actually, we'll change our positions. We'll see if you can then handle, and the best players do that.
And you're absolutely spot on. And what they've done is they've seen a problem. We're going to give you a problem now. But what I talk about, I keep talking about courage without the ball. It's easy to have courage without the ball. The courage to go and get the ball on your 6-yard box off your goalkeeper in a game of this magnitude, absolutely outstanding. So what happens then is Silva and Rodri end up in your back four. They're your centre-backs now, in your back four. They take the ball. So we've seen them lose it early on with Silva, with Declan Rice it doesn't stop them getting it again, does it? That's real courage, getting on the ball and being brave, and then playing through that press of Arsenal.
So Ryan Cherky was the scorer of the first goal, and he had a moment 20 seconds before he actually scored in a very similar position. So we've set it up. We've got 20 seconds before he scored and the moment he actually scored on the right-hand side. So what are the key differences here, Jamie?
Well, we're just going to let it run on the one that he misses and then see the one that he scores. And then we're going to analyse the differences and what happened. And this all happened really in the same action. So you see Ryan Cherky there, similar position. Gabriel comes across and Arsenal clear the ball. And then we're going to look on this side, and this is where the goal is. It's all part of the same sequence, but it's very similar. So he has one opportunity, they stop him. This time, they don't. Now, Gabriel should do a lot better for a player of that level. But I want to look at the role of the midfield players again. Bernardo Silva skipping past Declan Rice. Bernardo Silva involved again. Fantastic. Now he slips it into Cherky. Now you've got 5 players around him in this space. But the big difference is Zubimendi is here in that role, a little bit deeper. And as we run it on, he comes across and just shadows him out. But you just watch Zubimendi now. So he's gone from one side really deep on the defender's toes. He now thinks or knows it's my job as well to fill these half spaces here. So this time he's with Nico O'Reilly. They can't get the ball in here. The ball comes across quickly and he can't get over. So now you've got a situation where we stop it. Now as he gets the ball, it's now 4 players. Now, that is still a very difficult proposition for any player in Wales football. But 1 player less, slightly more space. Zubimendi has gone one side. He can't get across the other. Now he's just got that little bit more space that he needs. Cherky here in this position. But this is all about an absolute magician who's been an absolute revelation in our league team.
Yeah, he's a superstar. And this is off the cuff. This is just him freewheeling almost with his natural talent that he's got. And look, there's the tiniest of feints to the right as he flicks it with the outside of his left foot. Just there as he flicks. The flick's perfect. They know they can't tackle him when they're in the area, and he's totally in control. And that's when you know you've got a Maverick superstar and you celebrate like a Maverick.
Yeah. So now they get the goal. They think everything's hunky-dory. Before you know it, we're at the other end. And I just wanted to look at this. And I thought Kai Havertz was absolutely fantastic. Look at Kai Havertz's body position now. The ball hasn't even left Nunez's hands. And he's already on his way. You're talking about the small here in terms of trying to gain an advantage.
Well, I think also I think he knows what he's doing. He's trying to position himself, so he's slightly hidden behind Kursanov and Donnarumma. This is purely him trying to be an opportunist in terms of taking a chance here, but just being hidden to give him an extra split second to go and chase that down.
What I wanted to mention was because he was so alive, it made me think. Because you think of the details these managers go into. We think we're doing detail on Monday Night Football, probably nothing like what Pep Guardiola and Mikel Arteta are going to. So when I saw the fact he'd gone so quickly when the ball was still in his hands, I'm thinking, is that something they spotted, that Nunez goes back to the goalkeeper? So I think I'd found something clever. But would you believe Nunez's throw-ins this season, 177, he's gone back to the goalkeeper once.
Do you think he's going to do it again?
He will never do that again, I can assure you. But brilliant from Kai Havertz, and again it goes back to the press from Arsenal was fantastic in that first half, and it's the pressing that gets them a goal and gets them back into the game. You see it from this angle as well. Listen, it's a huge mistake of a game at this level, but brilliant from Havertz, who I think throughout the game played a huge part in it, and we'll get to that shortly.
Yeah, and here we can see it on the game view as well. And you can see what you were talking about, Dean. He just tries to stay a little bit hidden before he acts.
Look, again, the best players aren't ever switched off. They're always, and any good striker should be sort of gambling on what might happen, what could happen. I think that's your job as a striker, is to anticipate what might happen. It might not come off, but you should be anticipating constantly.
Moving into the second half, and that comparison between those those two players on the City midfield and the two in the Arsenal midfield. And straight away, your eye is caught by the successful passes where if you add Rice and Zubamendi's totals up, you get to 20, which is fewer than either Rodri or Bernardo Silva had. Their passing accuracy drops off. Zubamendi doesn't actually make a pass in the final third in that second half at all. Line-breaking passes, just one between the two of them, and that's from Declan Rice, compared to the 15 that Rodri and Bernardo Silva have made. And then you wonder, are they doing more work without the ball? But no, because the pressure's forcing turnover. Again, it's Rodri and Bernardo Silva that had 14 combined to the Arsenal pair's 6, and they've only won possession back 4 times as well. Was that key to the way the game progressed?
Yeah, and it felt like it was the same in the Carabao Cup final, where those two in midfield just went to a completely different level. But I mentioned earlier on, Arsenal's press was fantastic. They get the goal from it. But there's a difference between having courage in pressing. It's easy. No one can stop you doing something about the ball. We've both been players. Sometimes you're in a big atmosphere. It's a huge game. There's a lot on the line. Sometimes players don't really want the ball. And I could probably include ourselves at different times. You're only human. That was the big difference in the game. There was courage for Manchester City with and without the ball. Arsenal didn't have it with the ball. So it comes in here now. Now, we did this last week with Arsenal, didn't we, in terms of playing out. Now, you're talking about a situation with a 7v4, including your goalkeeper. You've got to get out. You've got to be brave on the ball. These players don't want the ball. This ball can go to Saliba. This ball can be chipped to Mosquera. Odegaard's dropping deep. Havertz is in here. We've seen Bernardo Silva and Rodri in these positions taking the ball. That's why when I hear sort of all the plaudits Arsenal have had today, not with the ball, they weren't brave enough. No courage on the ball, and a hopeful ball goes forward and Manchester City bring the ball back. Now, another point I want to get to, we just hold it there. We just take it back, because this is really important in terms of the winning goal. Now, where I've said they were brave, Arsenal, was in the press, high pressing. But if you're going to high press, you've got to accept that times you could get caught out. Because the whole point of pressing high is you win the ball up high and you've got a great chance of going forward, OK? If you get caught out, then you're going to leave something behind. So there was a lot of criticism around Martinelli on the winning goal. I think it's harsh, and I'll tell you why, what I've just said. If you're going to take a chance to press, you've got to take the rough with the smooth. So as this ball comes across, keep an eye on Martinelli. And don't forget, the idea at the start of the game is to press high and be aggressive. So he presses here. That ball is on here to leave Mosquera in a 2v1. So that's the chance you take when you press high. You can see that pass is on there. But he now wins a tackle. That tackle leads to Arsenal having a chance at 1-1 to go 2-1 up. And that wins them the league. That chance here goes in. The league's won. So Martinelli has taken the chance to go and win Arsenal the league. And the fact that he misses it, great save, and it was actually Bernardo Silva who was back there defending. Now I go back to the courage on the ball and think about Rodri and Bernardo Silva. And the flip side, especially with Zubamendi. We highlighted him last week. Zubamendi now, that's your European champion for Spain. That's the guy you've brought in to get on the ball, take the ball in difficult situations, in tough arenas. You're going for the league away at Man City. That's not good enough. That is not good enough. That's what you're in the team for. That's what you've been bought for. That then leads to that goalkeeper picking the ball up, and then the decision for Martinelli. Does he press the centre-back or does he stay with the left back? We've seen the chance you take. Sometimes you get something from it, sometimes you lose something from it. They could have won the league a few minutes before. Then you look at Declan Rice here. Declan Rice likes being on the left of central midfield. That's why he's urging Zubamendi now to get across. Zubamendi can't get across, and he hasn't got the legs to get across also. Keep an eye on Odegaard as well. He's telling Martinelli to come here. And then you see his reaction. So, yeah, of course, you can say he's got us wrong, but if you're going to press high, you're taking a chance. And then it leads to the goal. Really good from Man City, one end to the other. I mean, this battle was fantastic. I loved it. Haaland, big centre-forward against the big centre-back, get off. But the thing I loved was this guy, Rodri. If he doesn't make that run, if he doesn't make that big challenge, the defender clears it. This doesn't even get there. So again, we're going back to Bernardo Silva and Rodri yet again. And where the game was won in midfield.
3 points still the difference. Arsenal still leading the way. I was trying to convince people yesterday in the Super Sunday studio, Dean, that it could still be Arsenal's title, but no one's really having it. What do you think?
I think it's very difficult. I think mentally they've taken a knock, both with the cup final defeat, the Bournemouth performance, and then even though, some positives from that performance, to lose again, I think it's really difficult to pick yourselves up. And what Manchester, when we talk about experience, Carragher just highlighted it there. Players that understand the pressures can still produce their best in those difficult moments and navigate their way through.
Arsenal and Man City, every game in this title.
Is former Everton and Wales defender Ashley Williams. Ash, great to see you, as always. And as always, on the Premier League show, our reporter Dave Reed is here as well for some expert analysis. I didn't write that in the script.
Oh, thank you, producer.
Yes, plenty to come. But first, to Jamie Carragher, who I caught up with a little earlier in the Monday Night Football studio. Yeah, part one of my chat with Jamie Carragher ahead of the Monday Night Football. Obviously, only one place to start, and that is with the title race and what happened at the Etihad yesterday. Jamie, you said before the game, before a ball was kicked, whoever won that would go on and win the Premier League title. Do you stand by that now that we know how it played out and we know the outcome?
Yes, I think City have got the edge. I just think momentum, experience, I think how that'll sort of affect Arsenal psychologically. Not just that game, the run of games that they're on, the performances as well. I think this was definitely a better performance, there's no doubt about that. I thought it was a brilliant game. I thought it was a testament to both teams, managers. It felt like a real top-level game. So I watched it yesterday afternoon. I've had a good look at it again last night and coming down on the train. So we think we're across it. We're going to do as much as we can, analyse it. But, City came out on top. I think they've just got a bit of extra talent, maybe a little bit more ability in certain positions than Arsenal do right now. But as I said, it was a fantastic Premier League game. Credit to them all.
You say you're going to be analysing everything tonight. No doubt you'll be looking at the remaining fixtures for both sides. Do you look at that and say, look, City have obviously got an extra fixture, but they've got the harder fixtures? Yeah,
City have got the harder fixtures, there's no doubt. But it's I think when you get to this stage and you're in Arsenal's position and you're just searching for a win from anywhere and the nerves are kicking in and maybe the supporters are getting anxious, I think the next two games are at home in the Premier League. It doesn't really matter who you play, I don't feel. It's almost like it's more about you. Really, we've seen them lose to Bournemouth. Most people would have said that was a game you win. At home, Newcastle, I think, is maybe the next game. And Newcastle are struggling right now. But, you can't hang your hat on Arsenal at the moment because, as I said, this run's gone on now for 4 or 5 games in different competitions and they just need to stop it quickly.
Do you pinpoint any that City have got? Or watching Wayne Rooney on Match of the Day last night, and he was saying Everton, he feels like them going to Hill Dickinson, they could drop points there. You look at the Bournemouth game as well, which is away.
Well, the Bournemouth one could be really tricky.
Because of the FA Cup final,
yes, exactly. Everton away. You look at Liverpool going there yesterday, needs a last-minute winning goal. So I just think they'll be so confident now, City. They'll expect to win. I don't think Arsenal will be expecting to win all the games. But there's no doubt they've got easier fixtures. But, again, you go back to the Champions League as well with Arsenal. I think those games against Atletico Madrid will take a lot out of them physically and mentally. And that's a big thing with Arsenal when you watch them right now. It's not just their ability, they're a great team, they've got great players. It's physically, how do they feel? Going forward, as I said, playing those 2 midweek games against top opposition, it's not going to be easy.
No, I know we were doing one of these chats a couple of months ago, and you talked about maybe the fact they lacked world-class quality in attacking areas. Is it this lack of firepower that maybe is going to be the thing that sees them miss out?
Well, if they do miss out, I would put it down to that. When you think of the Cherky goal yesterday, I don't think Arsenal can score that goal. I don't think they can. I think Erling Haaland scores that. Havertz has 2 big chances. Not every striker scores all his chances, but I think if you give Haaland 2 chances like that, he's scoring one of them. I think that's just the difference. There's definitely a lot more quality in the attack for Manchester City than there is for Arsenal right now. But they're still in there. I think if one of them won all the games, I think they've got an unbelievable chance of winning it, because I do think, the other team would drop something. So Arsenal have just got to think like that. Win all our games and we'll be champions, and I think they've got a great chance of doing that if they can accomplish that.
They've just been so close, haven't they? Does it feel like, I know Gary Neville was saying, I think it was maybe this time last week, he was saying it will be traumatic if Arsenal do go on and miss out on the title now. Does it feel like it's a case of now or never under Mikel Arteta?
Yes and no. I don't think it's a case that if they didn't win the league, Mikel Arteta would be out of a job. Nothing like that. But this does feel different than previous seasons because I don't think I've ever felt they were the best team in the league. I think for the majority of this season, most people in this country have felt Arsenal got the best squad and they've got the best team. And now it's just turning now very late in the season, unfortunately for them. But I think in the past, we've always felt it was Liverpool last season, or it was City the couple of seasons before that. They did have the edge on Arsenal, and they should win it. The best team won it. Right now, it hasn't felt like this for a lot of this season, and there's been times when I think Arsenal have been 9 points clear, they've had a chance to go 12 points clear, situations like that. And I remember a game at Brighton, not too fondly because I can't remember the exact date, but I just felt like there was a feeling that, oh, we're nearly there. This was big. I think City might have dropped points the same night or the day before, but that was probably maybe 4 to 6 weeks ago, and it just feels like it's completely flipped on its head now. And I think this will be very, very tough for everybody associated with Arsenal to get over if they don't get across the line.
Just lastly, Roy Keane, Patrick Vieira in the Super Sunday studio yesterday, loving the battle between Erling Haaland and Gabriel. I think we all did, but should he have seen red there? Was he luckier to avoid that?
He was definitely lucky, yes. I mean, people say like he's silly. He's very lucky to get away with it. If you're asking my opinion of situations like that, I don't like seeing someone get sent off for that. I mean, if they pull the head back and headbutt someone, Yosu's style might be about before your time.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's a red card for me. That's just I don't like seeing players get sent off, if I'm being honest. So I'm not just talking about Gabriel, I'm talking players in general. If that situation happens, a yellow card each is enough for me. But as I said, we've seen it before, and he's very lucky. It was a stupid thing to do, not just in that game, considering what's coming. There's not long of the season left to go. Could have missed 3 games. So I think he can see himself quite fortunate. Yosu's boys from the black stuff, if you
right,
want.
I was just thinking, like, hold on, should I know what that is? OK, Jamie, thank you for now. That's everything title race. But coming up from 6 o'clock with Jamie, we're going to be chatting all things race for Champions League and the race to survive as well. Yeah, I had no idea who Yosu was.
Me neither.
That's just gone over both of our heads then. There's a good place to start, though, not Yosu, but as talking about the battle between Haaland and Gabriel. As a former centre-back, how much did you enjoy that?
Yeah, I loved it. We don't see that often these days, so that was really enjoyable to watch. I enjoyed a centre-back going up against one of the most physically strongest players physically we've got in the league, one of the best strikers in the world, and actually standing up to it. I don't know if he won the battle, Gabriel, but at least he didn't shy away from it. And Saliba as well. They was both up for the battle against Haaland, and we know Haaland likes this type of game, so that was refreshing in itself. This incident.
Yeah, what did you make of that?
Listen, I also don't like players getting sent off, and I like the fact that we let players, the referee let players get on with it. But if Haaland goes down, it's a red card. So I feel like we're encouraging players to make a meal of situations. If that's a red card,
Haaland said that, didn't he, after?
Yeah, and I agree, because if he goes down, it is a red card. So well done to Erling Haaland for not going down. We want to see that as well. But at the same time, I can't help but think about last week's red card with Lisandro Martinez and think that's worse.
Yeah.
So there's no consistency in it. But in terms of the battle and the game itself, that is why we love the Premier League. Games like that, we need more of them.
Yeah. Did it feel like then the result is decisive? How do you look at it?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was with everyone before the game saying whoever wins this
will go on
and win it. But since the game, I thought about it a little bit, and I thought, well, the pressure was so high on Arsenal to get the win in this game, and they didn't get it. And then now it kind of changes where the pressure has been off City because we thought they was out of it. So when the pressure's off you, it's easier to chase someone down. Now all of a sudden the pressure's on City, so not sure how it's flipped. We'll have to wait and see, but the dynamic has definitely flipped in City's favour. So
do you actually feel like it takes a little bit of the pressure off Arsenal? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because on all the outside noise now is saying Manchester City are going to go on and win, so they're not really expected to, even though they're in first still and they have been for such a long time. I think we all feel that win, the cup final win, showed that City are going to go on and win the title. But maybe from Arsenal's point of view, if you're in that dressing room, you say, all right, lads, well, we've got nothing to lose. Let's just go and win all our games.
That's an interesting way of looking at it, because I think people assume it's the opposite and they've got this pressure piled on them. Wayne Rooney last night on Match of the Day saying that he thinks City maybe their celebrations were a little bit over the top and it could come back to bite them. When we look at the run-in and the fixtures that both sides, I know you're going to be asked this so much over the next few weeks, and you probably have already, but where do you think either side could potentially drop points? How do you see it playing out?
Well, first off, I had the same thought also. I was like, enjoy the game, enjoy the win because you've worked hard for it, but have you gone a little bit early on the celebration? The game that jumps out massively is the Bournemouth game for City, that City have to play at Bournemouth. They are a really difficult team, as Arsenal found out the other day. I'd say Arsenal maybe have the slightly easier run-in, but West Ham away is going to be difficult also for them. It's going to be interesting, but this is, to sit on the fence a little bit. This is what
No, we can't be sitting on the fence.
But this is what we love. It's going down to the wire. We didn't want it where it was over by now already, so it's going to be a great watch. It's hard to call. It's whoever responds better from the last game, and that's including City, because they can't think the job's done either, because it's not.
We sort of touched on this a little bit with Jamie Carragher, but does it feel like if Arsenal don't win the title this season, will they ever do it under Mikel Arteta?
It's going to be so heartbreaking for everyone, including him. Sometimes I think we forget about the actual manager that's put so much into this, and they've been so close, and they've been nailed on all season. If they let it slip now, I don't know where. I'm not sure how we can improve what he's already done in terms of squad depth, the way they play. They've brought in so many different types of players. If they don't get it done now, I don't see how they can get this over the line next year or the year after that with the same manager and the same personnel. So, if they don't do it, it'll probably be a bit... It's worrying times in terms of if the manager goes, who do they get in and where do they go from there?
Yeah. Right, let's bring Dave into the conversation then, because, Dave, you've been looking at the title tracker throughout the season. Where are we at with this?
Yeah, let's show you where things stand after that result at the Etihad. This is what our Premier League title tracker looks like. We've been telling you this over the last few months or so, and we've been following it between Arsenal and Manchester City as the season goes on. This is where we stand at the moment. Months of the season going along the bottom, and cumulative points in the vertical here follow Arsenal's line in the red and Manchester City's line is in the blue, of course. Now, rewind to the start of the season. First couple of weeks in August, right there in the bottom left of this graphic. That was the only time Manchester City have been top of the Premier League this season. That might change this week. And you can see Arsenal's line in the red here, tracking ahead of City all the way through the season. But they have flatlined recently. They haven't won a Premier League game in more than a month. I know we've had international break recently, FA Cup, European football as well. But they have struggled. That has allowed City to close up the gap a little bit. They're aiming for this line, the black line here, which is our champions line. And the total points that we think a side is going to need to win the Premier League this season is around 80. That has come down over the last few weeks as well. We think that Arsenal may not need to win every game from here out. 3 wins and a draw from 5 might well be enough for them. How does Arsenal's run-in look? Now, these are the teams that they still have to face this season, and we've got that alongside the reverse fixture as well as the score last season in the corresponding fixture. It looks good for Arsenal. Lots of green, lots of wins. If they do that again this time around, they will be champions, you might think. And let's see Arsenal and City side by side. City have the chance to go top against Burnley on Wednesday, but they do have tricky fixtures to come. We've already mentioned it there. Everton, Brentford, Bournemouth, Villa there as well. This colour-coded, as you can see, if they're facing a side in the top 6, it comes up as red. So City facing Aston Villa there in 4th. 7th to 14th is yellow. And 15th to 20 is in green. Now, all of Arsenal's remaining opponents are currently in the bottom half of the Premier League.
Ooh, yeah, going to be interesting, isn't it? Right, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, the biggest flashpoint from the game at the Etihad was Erling Haaland and Gabriel going head-to-head, literally. Speaking on Ref Watch this morning, Dermot Gallagher agreed with the decision not to send the Arsenal.
Own hands. Well, we've got Gary Cottrell at the Emirates for us this afternoon. But first of all, let's head to Ben Ransom, who's at the Etihad. Ben, good afternoon to you. There really was an explosion of noise at full time. Does it feel like the mood at the Etihad has changed from one of hope hope, to genuine belief?
Yeah, I think so. It was really strange, actually. Before the game, I spoke to a number of Manchester City fans, and all of them were so calm. I think they felt as though momentum had already switched in their favour even before yesterday's game, which is remarkable because normally, and City fans watching this will admit, I'm sure, when they feel that way, that's when things tend to bite them. So actually, the way the game panned out, I should say, was as expected, in the sense that City from the off were at it, they were aggressive, they really tried to win the game at all times. Arsenal, for their credit, to be fair, came to a very difficult place. They stood up, they gave City a really good game, but ultimately it was City who prevailed. And when you think back to this run that City have been on, the last 4 matches, particularly starting with that Wembley victory over Arsenal in a result that seems to really have given this group the belief they can overhaul them now in the Premier League title race. They've been magnificent. I mean, they've won the last 4 matches. They've played Arsenal twice, Liverpool and Chelsea, and they've only conceded 1 goal across those 4 matches, and that was yesterday's mistake from Gigi Donnarumma that Kai Havertz managed to get on the end of and score when he closed him down. So in that sense, City are coming into form at just the right time. That's why there was such an incredible scene of celebration yesterday, because I think that the fans now recognise that this is theirs to lose for the first time. They go to Burnley this week, ground a team who they've had comprehensive victories over in the last few years. I mean, they beat them 5-1 earlier in the season, so I think everyone is expecting City now to go to Burnley and win convincingly. That will put them top on goal difference. They'll have scored more goals than Arsenal. So going into the final 5 matches, City know, and they've done this before, by the way, win the last 5 games, and they would imagine that they will have their hands on the Premier League trophy.
And Gary, it really was looking so rosy for Arsenal a couple of months ago. What has gone wrong?
Well, those 4 domestic defeats on the bounce certainly haven't helped matters, have they? 2 fairly underwhelming performances in the Champions League as well in that last 6. But I think what happened yesterday at the Etihad, obviously against Manchester City in the Carragher Cup, a poor performance, a poor result. Bournemouth here last time out, that was unexpected, even though Bournemouth are on the same points at the moment as Chelsea. And of course, defeat to Southampton, upcoming Southampton, looking really good these days in the FA Cup. But the performance at Manchester City yesterday, even though Arsenal lost, is a much better performance in terms of they went for it, they put pressure on Manchester City for large parts of the game. They could have got an equaliser several times, hit the woodwork, close calls as well. So I think in the dressing room afterwards, the players, although they lost, and of course maybe potentially on Wednesday will lose the leadership, but to Manchester City, still took some spirit, some belief, some encouragement from the performance. And Mikel Arteta was certainly more upbeat than you would have expected him to be in the news conferences and media duties afterwards, because of what he saw in that performance yesterday, and because anything can happen, let's face it, between now and the end of May in the Premier League. He says that he still believes and that it's a new league now, and Arsenal continue to fight.
I believe today, I believe on Wednesday, a week ago, because I see them every day and I know the level that we have. But today, if they need to be more convinced, I think they are now more convinced. They were talking about it in the dressing room. It's a new league now. They were a game in hand. We have 3 points of advantage and 5 games to play. So everything is still to play for. So we know how much we want it, and we're not going to stop, and we're going to go again, that's for sure.
And Ben, we've got to touch on one of City's key players yesterday, Bernardo Silva, leaving in the summer, but was yesterday a bit of a reminder of what they'll be missing?
Oh, look, Bernardo's been incredible this season. He has played seemingly everywhere. And I think yesterday we saw that season in basically a 90-minute performance, because he was all over the pitch, technically so good on the ball. He's able to control the tempo when City are in possession. He controls the press when City are out of possession. He shows such a hunger and an energy. No surprise, he's run 40 kilometres more than any of his teammates this year. That's a marathon, basically, across the game we've seen played in the Premier League so far. He was defensively sound. I mean, Erling Haaland afterwards compared him to Fabio Cannavaro with a particular headed clearance when he got in front of Victor Gyökeres and managed to win the ball when City really needed him to be at his defensive best. He cleared the lines, he organised. I mean, look, he has been captain fantastic, and Pep over the last few weeks has paid tribute to him on numerous occasions, specifically in the dark moments, specifically last year when City were trophy in the title race, when they were having to go through some difficult results and performances. Again, Bernardo led from the front and kind of dragged the rest of his City teammates up with him. So it's no surprise that Pep Guardiola calls it the best decision of the season that he's made to make Bernardo club captain. And it's no surprise that Pep yesterday was keen to pay tribute to a player that ultimately will be playing the last 6 Premier League games in a Manchester City shirt.
If I talk a lot, one day I'll cry. So just I can say thank you so much for the deep of my heart on behalf of this club, what you have done. Football, Bernardo proved that football starts from here to the feet. Deserve the biggest recognition. When we write the legend, we have to write in the capital letter because it has been. Not for today, so for every single game during 9 years. Many reasons there are for this tenor, these 10 years together, 9 years together. Without him, it would have been so difficult. Only I can say, where we'll go, the team will be so lucky to have him. That I don't have any doubts.
And Gary, of course it was a blow for Arsenal yesterday, but despite losing their advantage, will they still feel it's theirs to lose, particularly looking at the fixtures that they've got left?
Well, they seem to favour Arsenal. Listen, all the scenarios ahead for both these teams are so complicated, but even more complicated is this graphic that we've made for you. Red teams are teams who are towards the best in the Premier League, towards the top of the Premier League, positions 1 to 6. Yellow, positions 7 to 4 in the current Premier League, and green, the worst, positions 15 to 20. You can see that after Burnley, the next 5 games, Manchester City's opponents are all in the top 10, in the top half of the Premier League, apart from Crystal Palace. Still no date for that actual fixture, by the way, whereas Arsenal's fixtures are all teams in the bottom half of the Premier League. And by the way, they don't have to travel outside of London either. They're either here at the Emirates or they're London derbies. And the scenario is such that, by the way, the next time City play after potentially going top of the league at Turf Moor on Wednesday, they could find themselves 6 points behind Arsenal again, because before they play at Everton away in a couple of weeks' time because of the FA Cup, etc., Arsenal can, if they beat Newcastle here and then the week after beat Fulham here, will be 6 points again ahead of Manchester City, with all that does to the mindset of Manchester City. So if you think all that's complicated, well, even more complicated are the boffins, the Opta supercomputer, because they've predicted, because of all that, despite what happened yesterday, that Arsenal are still the favourites to go ahead and win the Premier League. 73% likely, they say, for Arsenal to win the Premier League, only 27% for Manchester City. If you ask Arsenal fans, though, I don't think necessarily they agree with that.
OK, Gary, Ben, thank you very much for now. Well, Erling Haaland admitted he thought City's hopes were over after they drew with West Ham last month. Since then, City have beaten Chelsea and Arsenal in the league. They also won the Carabao Cup final and thrashed Liverpool in the FA Cup.
After the West Ham game, I think everyone felt and everyone wrote that it was over. That's the feeling, and in the end, it's boring to say this, but you have to focus game by game. You need to now, enjoy, speak about this game, but tomorrow you need to start thinking about Bournemouth. That's the reality in this club and in this title race, because this last weeks, that's when things get decided. The last 4 seasons they have come short. For now they are first, so I think they're still there. They've still been the best team this season, so I don't want to speak too much about them, because they should. They are an amazing team, and we should focus on ourselves. The reality is, in 3 days and a few hours, it's a new game. So now, after this, go, recovery, eat good, relax, focus on the next one.
Well, one of the controversial incidents to come from yesterday's game was the decision not to send off Gabriel for a coming together with Haaland late on. The City striker was asked about it after the game, and he was surprised with the outcome.
I think my undershirt got a bit pulled. Didn't get the foul. This is the Premier League nowadays. It's a bit of wrestling here and there. But yeah, a lot of jewels, a lot of scratches, if you want to say this. Sometimes my missus is not so happy about this. It looks a bit wrong, but that's the reality. Yeah, I think that's a red card. I think most of you agree with me on this. To be honest, if I go down, it's a red card, like any other guy would do. I will never do this. My father learned me this, that stay on your feet. I should have gone down, maybe yes, then it would be easier, but I didn't, and I got the yellow card. I don't know why.